What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So happy to have you guys with me here today. This is Stefan from App Stuff, and in today's tutorial, we are going to be going over everything you need to know about sheets and full screen covers with SwiftUI. So I have this amazing Airbnb clone here in front of me, guys, that I'm going to use it as an example to show you what we're going to be doing in today's video. So we're going to start with the basics of simply how to present a sheet or a potential full screen cover, how to dismiss that stuff. And that's what we're going to start off with. And then we're going to get into some of the more advanced stuff with sheets, where we can do things like present sheets with a specific height or custom height, how to lock it in at a custom height, how to potentially give it different slidable heights and all of that cool stuff, how to dismiss them. And also the big one, my favorite, is going to be how to present multiple sheets over top of a single view. And we're going to go over the most professional and efficient way of doing so. And if you guys also want to check out this Airbnb clone, just head over to my website at stefancodes.com and go to the pro courses. Everything is 30% off right now for the holiday sale before the year end of 2023. And you guys can check out that full pro course there. There's also a free version on YouTube, which is linked in the description if you guys want to get started with this for free. But anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. So I have an Xcode project opened up. It's brand new. You guys should do the same. And let's go ahead and get started with the basics of sheets. All right, guys, so to get things started, we are going to go ahead and just create a button here. So inside of this VStack, just go ahead and delete that stuff and create a button. It's going to say click me, and then we're going to open up some parentheses or some brackets, sorry, for the action handler of this button. So ideally, guys, when we click this button, we want a sheet to present over top of this screen, much like we see here in our completed app where I hit login and it presents this sheet, and I can slide that down to dismiss. I can represent it, as I see fit on click of that button. So to do that, we're going to create a state property here. Say state private var show sheet, and we're going to set it equal to false. And when we click this button, we are just going to modify the value of this Boolean property. So we'll just go here and say show sheet.toggle. So basically, this is going to toggle this back and forth between true and false. And basically, guys, if this property is true, we want to show our sheet. If it's false, we want to dismiss our sheet. So let's go ahead and do that. So on this VStack, guys, we are going to go and use this sheet modifier. So I'm going to say dot sheet, right? And we are going to use this option here, is presented and content. So the is presented is going to be tied to this show sheet property. So I'm going to go here and say $ show sheet. And the content can just be like a rectangle, dot fill, maybe like dot pink. Okay. So now if I click this button, guess what, guys? It shows me this pink rectangle, and I can place anything that I want here in this content. I could say text sheet 1 and go ahead and go here, and it's just going to present this view or this sheet that says sheet 1. This is my content, and this is how the sheet presentation is managed through this property here. So when I dismiss this, guys, it automatically changes that back to false, and then I can click it again and it'll show my sheet. Awesome. So how do we get that to potentially be like a full screen cover, right? So I can do the same thing, and I could just say dot full screen cover is presented and content, and I could say show sheet, and my content can just say text full screen cover. And we're going to notice the difference between these two. Let's go ahead and comment this one out really quickly, guys. And just go ahead and hit click me. And you guys will notice that this is a full screen cover, right? The difference between a sheet and a full screen cover is that I cannot just automatically dismiss the full screen. So you might want to use this in certain situations where you don't necessarily want the user to just be able to drag and dismiss. You might want to actually have them trigger some sort of action, like a cancel action, to actually dismiss that sheet there. So what we could do, guys, I'm going to show you how to dismiss the full screen cover. We could go ahead here and just create another button and say dismiss me. And we can go ahead here and say show sheet.toggle. So this content is going to be another button, and it's going to change the value of my show sheet guy back to false, right? So when I do this and I hit dismiss me, you guys will notice that it dismisses that right away. So That's just another way of dismissing a full screen cover. You guys might want to put like a cancel button up in the upper left-hand corner there or something like that to dismiss that sheet there. So that's looking pretty good, guys. We have now established the difference between a sheet and a full screen cover. You guys can decide which ones you want to use, in which context you want to use them in, so on and so forth, based on the requirements of your app, right? But basically, a full screen cover is going to require some sort of custom dismissal action, whereas if we just have a sheet, we can manually dismiss that ourselves, right? And we can drag that up and down, and we get all of this straight out of the box from the system functionality of SwiftUI, which is absolutely incredible. Okay, so now that we've covered the basics, guys, let's take a step up here, move on to some more big boy stuff with Sheets, and get a little bit more advanced with this. So in this section, guys, we're going to be covering this new modifier called presentation detents with SwiftUI. So they give us the ability to set custom heights for a sheet presentation and also sheet interaction. So let's go over what I mean by that. Let's go ahead on this text, guys, and say .presentation detents. So you guys are going to notice it asks you to pass in some sort of detent. So what exactly is that? Well, we're going to go ahead here and create an array with these two brackets, and we're going to say .medium, comma, .large. So let's take a look at what exactly this does to our sheet now. So I can hit this, and you guys will notice that it only goes halfway up the screen, and I can just dismiss it from there. And I could also swipe up, and it will automatically take up the entire height of the screen, or as high as this sheet goes, right? And I can swipe it back down, and it goes back to that medium height, right? So this is super, super awesome. Before this was released in iOS 16. You have to do all of this functionality yourself, guys. And it was super, super annoying. So it's so amazing that Apple just gave us this out of the box now, right? You can swipe down to dismiss the whole thing. You can get it up to the medium height, go back up to the large height, go back down to the medium height, and back down to dismissal, and all of that good stuff. And it doesn't stop there. We also have a custom height modifier. So let's just add a comma at the beginning of that and say .height, and we could say like 200. Right? So now I can get the sheet to go to any custom height that I want, right? And I can then swipe all the way up to the large configuration, and I can just add as many of these as I want, guys. You are not limited to the amount of things you can add to this array. So that's just absolutely incredible there. Another thing we can do here, guys, is we can disable the interactive dismissal of the sheet with one simple line of code. We could go ahead and say interactive dismiss disabled. And you guys will notice that now I cannot drag down to dismiss the sheet or tap on the screen to dismiss the sheet. You might want to force the user to actually tap a cancel button or an X button or something like that. And you can do that by simply disabling the interactive dismissal there. Another thing that's cool to note, guys, is we don't have to have the medium and large configuration. You can simply just have a custom height, and it will just pop your sheet up to that height for you, much like we saw in the Airbnb app with that like login prompt right there. Another really, really cool feature that we get out of the box with Sheets, guys, is we can maintain background interaction up through a particular height of our sheet. So you guys notice right now, if I were to comment this line of code out and re-enable interactive dismissal, anytime I touch the background of my sheet or the like back in the root view, it automatically dismisses that sheet. So I want to show you a really cool trick to help you keep the background interaction enabled up through certain heights. So go up to the top of your file, guys, and let's import MapKit. And I'm just going to go and add a full map on my app here. You guys will notice that I can interact with my map by dragging it around and zooming in and out and all of that good stuff, right? But if I were to show my sheet, anytime I click on the map view, it just automatically dismisses the sheet. So you might want the functionality to still be able to play around with the map while you have a sheet presented. So in order to do that, guys, we can do this. One simple modifier. We can say presentation background interaction is enabled up through a particular height. So what that means is it will enable the background interaction up through a particular height. So for example, we have this 200 height for our sheet here. I could go ahead here and say .height 200, and you guys will notice that now I can still interact with my sheet, or sorry, the background view while the sheet is presented. And I could just dismiss the sheet at any time. And if I were to add like maybe .medium here, you guys would notice that I can interact with the sheet or the background with the sheet at that height. But if I slide it up to medium, you notice it becomes slightly grayed out. And if I click anywhere in that background, it dismisses my sheet. And if I were to change this to .medium, guys, it will simply allow interaction up through that particular height. So anything that is less than or equal to that height, it will still enable the background interaction, which is pretty cool. So you notice I can do that there. I can still interact with it here. And maybe if I wanted it to go all the way up to like .large, then I could, not have that interaction in the back, right? So if it's like this, then I might just want to be able to like drag down to dismiss or something like that. So that's another super, super cool feature. We're going to cover two more concepts here, guys. One, we're going to go over how to present a sheet with a value-based presentation. Right now, this is just a Boolean property. You might want to present a sheet when some sort of value is populated. We're going to go over how to do that. And my favorite feature that we're going to cover before we end this video is going to be how to present multiple sheets over top of one view. So that's what we're going to be doing in the next two sections of this, guys. So get excited. So really quickly, guys, I'm just going to delete this map stuff. So delete the import map kit and the map in our VStack. And I'm going to create like a very simple list of names that we are going to loop through. And what I want to do is be able to select one of those names and show a sheet based on the selected name. So basically, guys, what we're going to do is create this simple contact struct. So it's going to conform to the identifiable protocol. It's going to have an ID and a name. Super, super basic and super simple. And then I'm going to just copy and paste this array of contacts that I have here. So go ahead and you guys can pause the video and type this out. Just create that simple struct and create a couple items in an array. And we're going to loop through that array really fast. So I'm just going to go in my VStack and create a list. And then I'm going to say for each contacts, contact in. And then I'm just going to say I want to display the contact or contact.name, right? So pretty straightforward, pretty simple, right? So guys, let's imagine, like I said, I wanted to be able to tap on one of these guys and present my sheet. Well, you could do that by simply going here on this name and saying .on tap gesture, and you could say show sheet.toggle, right? And that would show your sheet. But how would I get information about the selected item into the sheet, right? So that's something that's pretty common, passing data from one place to another. We're going to go over how to do that now. So the problem with this current setup is that our show sheet is just linked to this Boolean property, right? What we can do is we can actually link our presentation logic to a particular item, like namely one of these contacts. So I'm going to create a state property called selected contact, and it's just going to be an optional contact. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and create another sheet, guys, and say .sheet, and we're going to use this item here that says item in content. So you guys notice it presents a sheet using the given item as a data source for the sheet's content. So now what I can do is go ahead here and say I want to link my presentation to the selected contact. So basically what that's saying is when this has a value, it will show the sheet. When that value is erased or wiped out, it'll hide the sheet or won't present the sheet. And you guys notice that now I have access to the actual contact that I selected inside of this closure, which is great, right? So now I could actually get information about my selected item in my next sheet or my presented sheet, right? I could just say text. We could say selected contact is contact.name. And now when I tap a contact, I just want to update this property's value to be the contact that I selected. So I could just go ahead here and replace this on tap gesture with selected contact equals the contact that I tapped on, right? So now if I were to go and tap LeBron James, guys, guess what? It says selected contact is LeBron James. So that's great. I dismiss, hit that. Selected contact is Kobe Bryant. Hit this. Selected contact is Michael Jordan. So that just shows you guys how you can link your presentation logic to like a particular item, right? And the reason we had to like create this struct, guys, is that this item has to conform to the identifiable protocol. So you can't just simply have like an array of strings or numbers. You have to make sure that the thing you are linking your selection to, this item, conforms to the identifiable protocol, and that's because SwiftUI needs to be able to distinguish between items with like the selection logic and stuff like that. So guys, to segue into the final topic of this video, we are going to want to take a look at what's happening here. So we have two sheet modifiers on a single view, right? And right now it might look like that's working just fine. Like I can select my items, I can hit this guy right here, right? And everything looks to be working okay. But let's go ahead and take a look at what happens in some situations, right? Like if I go and click on Michael Jordan and then click on this sheet, and then dismiss that guy, it's going to like present that sheet back over top of my view. And that might not be the functionality that you want there. And you guys will notice that if you pay attention to the console, we keep getting this message here. Currently only presenting a single sheet is supported. The next sheet will be presented when the currently presented sheet gets dismissed. So basically, SwiftUI doesn't like when you try to present multiple sheets over a single view or have multiple sheet modifiers on a single view. So to make this concept a little bit more clear, I'm going to go ahead and comment out this list, guys. And I'm going to create another button. So let me just go ahead and copy and paste this stuff. And let's go ahead and make another state property. State private var show sheet 2 equals false. And we'll go ahead here and say show sheet 2.toggle. We can comment out our item selection. And let's just go ahead and create another sheet here. And this guy's going to be based on show sheet 2. And here we can make a text parameter that says sheet 2. Right? So let's go ahead and maybe say click me 2. Right? So now I go here, it shows sheet 1. I go here, it shows sheet 2. And it's just like a very, very strange behavior that we're getting here. Right? We don't like this. This is not how we want things to work and how we want things to function. And there is a pretty good solution for how to solve this problem, right? Like I said, we keep getting this message from Apple saying, yo, this is not how you're supposed to do it. So let's go over how we can solve this problem, because there are a lot of situations in which you want multiple sheets to be presented over top of a single view, or multiple sheets that are linked to a particular view, right? Like for example, in the Airbnb app, once again, if I hit this login button, I want that sheet to dismiss and then present me with a different sheet, right? So let's go over how we can do that, guys. We are going to do this by creating an enum. So I'm just going to paste this enum in here, and this is what it's going to look like. We can call it like sheet config, short for sheet configuration. And we're just going to give it some sort of type. It could be int, string, doesn't matter. We just need to make sure it conforms to the identifiable protocol. And these are all of the different options I'm going to have for my sheets, guys. So in the case of the Airbnb app, one of the sheets is like a login prompt, and another one of the sheets is the login view, and all of that type of stuff, right? So this is where you can put all of your different sheet options inside of this enum. And instead of using multiple Boolean properties, we're going to do something similar to the selected contact, and we're going to link our sheet presentation to this sheet configuration here. So I'm going to go ahead and create a state property for that, guys. It's going to be at state, private var sheet config. And it's going to be this optional sheet config right here. So I can go ahead and even make another button, click me 3. And here's what we're going to do. Instead of toggling these Boolean properties, we're going to say sheet config, equals .sheet1. And just paste that here, here, here. And here it's going to be sheet 3, and here it's going to be sheet 2. And what we can do now is here we can replace this with our item, and I can say we want this to be linked to our sheet config, and then we get access to the sheet configuration inside of this closure. And here, guys, this is where this gets really smooth. I can just do a switch on my config. Make sure you do it on this guy right here. And here we can say text sheet 1. And we could say like .presentation detents .medium. And here we can present an entirely different view, right? Sheet 2. And maybe this is going to be .height 300 or 200. And then here, text once again, entirely different view that's linked to this particular case in the enum. And we could just make that full screen. And guys, in this nil case, I don't really like that. So what we could do is just say if let config, right? Because this is going to come back as optional. That's why it's asking us for this nil guy. Then we could wrap this switch statement up in there. Just close that bracket out, delete that stuff. So that way you don't have to worry about the nil case right there, right? Let's see what we got. Maybe we don't have to do that. Yeah, I guess we don't. That's pretty cool. So yeah, because this config is, I guess, guaranteed to have a value, we don't need to unwrap it, right? So let's go ahead and check out what this looks like, guys. If I hit click me here, it's sheet 1. If I hit this guy, it's sheet 2. And then if I hit this here, it's sheet 3, right? So you'll notice that we don't get those messages any longer. These are all showing up from the previous setup, right? So you guys could notice that, like, let me just go ahead and run this app maybe. And you guys will notice that all these messages will get wiped out, and we go here and everything is working as expected. So that is looking really, really good, guys. And that is going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and check out our website at stephancodes.com. We're currently having a big holiday sale, 20% off memberships and 30% off pro courses and app templates, guys. And if you become a member for just less than a coffee a day, you get unlimited access to everything on the site. That includes all of our pro courses and app templates. So make sure you guys check that out if you're serious about becoming a professional iOS developer or building high quality iOS apps. And anyway, guys, thanks for watching this one. Once again, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.